Hi, friends. Welcome to a mid-year favors video. I should have done this in June because June is the halfway point, and here we are in August. And I recently uploaded an autumn-inspired eyeshadow palette in August for September. I still wanted to do the halfway point fave video because I truly was curious to look back at what I had purchased from January until now, and I think that pretty much sets up the rest of my year, having a good handle of what is in my collection, what I have enjoyed, and also an opportunity to rekindle the love that I had for these new items 8 months back. We are in January 2023, and I had to begin with Tanseido. Tanseido is a brush brand that you can find on foodabeauty.com, and I work with Fude Beauty in presenting different brands from the site. And I did a new Tanseido video for 2023, and I had to show these brushes, specifically the AQ20. This is a red squirrel cheek brush, beyond soft, and one of these brushes where it was great to have a tool that just had such feather-light feel on the skin, but also feather-light pickup, because I know we have those products, for instance, because when we get into April, when speaking about Mother's Divine Bronzer, you might have a shade that's like borderline too deep for you, but you can make it happen depending on the brush. And something like Bronze Divinity, which could look very intense on my skin tone if not applied carefully, if I have my AQ20, I could just float this color onto the skin and have much better control of the intensity. So this is where the red squirrel comes in, and I speak about this at length in that video. I will have a playlist link down below, and up above I believe I could do a playlist card on this video where you can see all the demos and everything is time stamped, where if you just wanted to see the AQ20 in action with different products, you most certainly can check that out. But this brush pretty much changed the game for me in terms of now using other products in my collection that have a lot of intensity in terms of the cheek category of things, but now I have better control because of just this luxurious feel on the skin from Red Squirrel. And not only in cheek products, but also complexion, powder foundation, or anything powder like for complexion. If you just, or for myself, wanted a lighter application, didn't want to appear overly made up, but I still just wanted a little more coverage, AQ20. And here we have the YSS14 highlighter brush. It is a highlighter brush, but I adore the fact that it is gray squirrel with this slant. It's perfect for cheekbone highlight because it hugs the surface area of your cheekbones in a way that envelops it beautifully when applying just like that high pearl finish type of a powder. I'm thinking like Pat McGrath Divine Highlighter situation. Maybe not great for baked products. And I might also mention that for the AQ20 because these are softer bristles, not great for the gelée products or just those, you know, tighter pan formulas. We're talking about softer powders, easy pickup powders, especially however for the YSS14. It just beautifully envelops the cheekbone, and instead of keeping it here, this is a higher point of the real estate if you have like that ultra bing highlight, to where for softer highlighters you could bring it down lower on your cheeks, and the way the brush diffuses the product is absolutely perfect. So I needed to show these two brushes. There were more in that video. These for me were definitely stand out, and they had to be included in the mid-year faves. In the same month, Niji released 2 editions for her Keyaki set. Her Keyaki set are her smaller handle brushes here. I have a few here, and in that month we received the Keyaki versions of the Buffer and the Niji Pro. The Niji Pro originally had a mixture of undyed and dyed Psycho goat hair, and I think synthetic, but I'm pretty sure it was just undyed and dyed goat hair. We have a similar goat hair blend, but as you can see, you have the Keyaki wood, shorter handle, different ferrule design. In terms of just the color, we have the brush black and the beloved smooth buffer, because the buffer brush is like a standout tool from the Sonia G collection. This is the smooth buffer from the Sky Face series. It released as a single, but it has the Sky Face blue handle design, smaller than the original Face 1 and the Buffer Pro that was re-released to replace Face 1, but we have it now in the shorter handle, which is magnificent because smooth buffer is great for just that buffing, also to blend in mineral foundation or powder foundation, any type of complexion powder product you might have in your collection. And then the G Pro, forget it. This is fantastic for buffing. It has a wide surface area. You could truly work that product into your skin and just have a beautiful blurred finish when everything has been applied. Or if you have that gelée type of a formula for bronzer, blush, what have you, it picks it up readily. You get it right into the hollows, and the way it just works that product into your skin for that polished finish is exceptional. So I had to include it on this list because to have these two brush head sizes, especially the Niji in this shorter handle design, I just adore. So can't wait to see more from Keyaki. Actually, a lot of you, we're going to get to the sheer buffer down the line for sure, looking for the sheer fusion buffer design in the Keyaki. That would be exceptional. Even if it's smaller, fantastic for travel. I'm sure you already know why. I have a Sonia G Fusion Sheer Buffer video on the channel, on the playlist. The amount of products you could use the brush with, potentially a smaller brush head for travel. I know, too much to think about. Suqqu Spring Collection released also in January. There are some standout items from that release, but I have to, without a doubt, highlight what I think is Suqqu's most astounding, one of their most astounding formulas is their newly released, at the time, lip wrapping treatment. 2 out of the 3 colors I have, I believe I have 02, which is like a caramel brown, caramel beige. That color is in the bag, right? Always available on the go. What are these shades? Does it even say? Oh yes, 03 and 04, the more orange leaning brown and the terracotta shade. The lip wrapping treatment, it's so cushiony and silky, conditioning on the lip. But what I love most about it is when you first apply it, the color is a little intense, right? You're like, oh no. But when you let it settle, it just leaves behind a beautiful tint of that color. And I think it's fantastic all year round. Maybe you can associate this better with spring and summer. I totally get it, because things that are shinier and glossier in nature, I understand people have a tendency to gravitate towards those finishes for the warmer season. I think is great for autumn winter as well, because it's just so conditioning on the lip. It feels silky and smooth when you apply it. The doe foot applicator is slanted and it has really nice flexibility where it envelops the lips easily and you can feel around the outline without necessarily using a mirror. And I like these hybrid types of products that provide color but moisture too. It's like tinted lip care, but the colors for the lineup are just exceptional, and I'm kicking myself for missing out on like the lavender tinted one, because I was trying to, dial down the spending a little bit and buy colors that I know are just in my wheelhouse. So I picked up the more like terracotta brownie shades. But man, this is just a fantastic product. And I think they released more shades down the year. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm happy with the 3 that I have, for sure. So I had to share from the spring Suqqu release, and we got a few more in January, and let's go into the nails, shall we? Holo Taco released their Barista bundle, a collection of 5 espresso inspired, or I should say coffee shop inspired shades. I believe in the Holo linear formula, maybe it was a slightly different, but nevertheless, this collection, Christina nailed it. You don't have to apply all 5 polishes at once, but I remember when including this in my January favorites video, how I just embraced the gradient. It's just a way to fully experience all these coffee shades and whatnot right on the same hand. And there were times where, sure, I would apply one color one hand and the other color on hand. But to have them all like this, to see them side by side, I just think it's so much fun. And I had to include it on this list. I keep going back to the Barista bundle. Again, whether it's just to use 2 colors or all of them at once, I think the formula is solid. You can't never go wrong with Holo. But to have these shades of like brown and haute couture, it's like a lavender kind of tinted, and then you have blushed ice, which is more of like a pinky beige base, and then you have espresso your Holo, which is the darkest out of the 5. This is the more like chocolate brown, and this is the more black brown. Or I guess this is the more black brown, but then you have a little more brown. You see what I mean? I'm able to distinguish these nuances when they're all side by side like this. And to have the gradient on your nails like I did, and it's not a huge deal to do, just have all the 5 bottles lined up. And I guess because it was easier for me, because I recently reorganized my nail polish collection, so I know where everything is now, unlike before where everything was a complete mess and finding all 5 shades just turned me off completely. I'm like, you know what, I'll just paint with the shades that I could find. But now that I know where everything is, it's easy to grab all 5, paint and use all 5. So I had to include it on the mid-year faves list because these, again, colors, you just can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with coffee colored linear Holo. So that's that. On the lips, I got the Hourglass Satin Cream Lipstick in Larch. I understand the critique for this lipstick where some thought it was too emollient. I could totally get that. It is very creamy, easy to apply. Not so emollient, but I get it. If you wanted to turn it down, you probably could powder your lips first or use a longwear liner first. I just slapped it on. And this color specifically, Larch. How did Hourglass describe the shade? I think it was like, what, like a mauve brown? Hold on. A rosy brown. That's why I got it. And I have 2 different eye palettes on the eyes. And I think the rosy brown matches both wonderfully, right? Rosy brown for me, I adore because it does have this grungy sophistication about it, on my skin tone anyway. I know I cannot speak for all, but I do love a brown that has a little bit of rosiness, but it's not too warm. It's teetering on like the neutral cool edge. It gives the lips a smokiness that I feel great for the daily, or also to pair with the more neutral eyes, or even if you wanted to stick to, you know, what we have over here, it works out as well, I think, because of just like that, again, that almost mauve brown base that the lipstick presents. I actually have 2 colors. I think the other one was it Shore? It was one of the creamy beige ones, a little trickier. Here it is, Alpine. Warm beige, the Alpine shade, is fine on me. I have to pair it with a liner. I think I also bought one of, it wasn't Dahlia. Let me see here. It was a more red toned shade, which I actually like just on the daily, just for the grown and sexy color of the day to wear all by itself. I have it, the drawer is right here. Let me go get it. I lied. It's Flora, but how come I can't find it? Here it is, Berry Rose. The Berry Rose shade I too adore. I think this is a great everyday berry in that it's not too red, not too pink. I can wear it by itself without any makeup on. I preferably rather have brows, a little bit of blush, and maybe a bit of mascara, but because I've been wearing my glasses, I haven't even re-upped my contacts. It's just been glasses for the majority of the year. Flora is a great shade to wear on its own, and Larch I would rather wear with a light smoky eye. I could get away with Larch, but because it, not that it's gray, but you see that it's not going to have the same color as Flora, right? It's not going to brighten my complexion in the same way the Berry Rose shade will. So I just have to be careful with how I choose to wear Larch. I rather wear it maybe black coffee on the liner or a little bit of mascara, bronzing up the cheeks, maybe Paradise Venus, you know what I'm saying? So that's the route I would go. And I'm happy because I started off with like 6 shades in my basket when these lipsticks first released. And I was like, excuse me, edit that down to shades that you know you are going to wear all the time. And I should be wearing these more often. I don't. But now that I reorganized my collection, makeup is easier to find, I might be reaching for these more often, especially now. I know it's still summer, friends, I know, but as we are beginning to enter my favorite season of the year, autumn, these are gonna be perfect for it. So I'm putting these in the front of the drawer. We are now in February, and to kick off this part of the year, no other than Pat McGrath Labs. Mother released her first liquid eyeshadow product. I have here Smoldering Seduction as well as Cosmic Chartreuse, and I use these shades to jumpstart my eye looks today. Again, I have an entire video dedicated to the liquid eyeshadows from Pat McGrath Labs. I adore this liquid eyeshadow. People were often comparing it to the Lisa Eldridge liquid Myricks, and I believe I have a comparison video. I think it was the Lisa video I did, a haul video that I will again have on the playlist. I think they're both comparable. I do agree, especially with our girl Lexi Jong. If you don't know, luxury beauty reviewer, fantastic content. I'll make sure to include her video down below. I agree with Lexi in the observation that the liquid eyeshadows from Pat McGrath Labs have a little more glitz to them, and the liquid Myricks from Lisa a little more subdued, although I would argue within the Myricks collection, some are more subdued and the others not so much. The glitz is pretty much top to bottom in the Pat McGrath liquid eyeshadow lineup, and I love these by themselves. I love these to set up eyeshadow looks. It just adds a little more adherence and pizzazz to the look, but what I appreciate mostly is just the ease of application, the way you can just whip these across the lid. I would recommend that you work with a little bit of haste because it is a long wearing product, so it is formulated to set rather quickly. Once you slap it on your lid, I would get to blending right away just so you can move the product in how you would like it to appear on your skin and it doesn't look skipped or uneven. If you leave it on a little too long and you can't move it well, make sure you start blending before the setting begins and you'll have a beautiful finish on the lids. Speaking of eyeshadow, I was pissed at myself for wanting this product because I know when it comes to luxury brand makeup, I am paying for the name. I know that. But when I saw, first of all, the design of the palette, but most importantly, what is inside, I had to have these shades. These are my colors. The pink, magenta, terracotta, rose tones. And although this is an eyeshadow palette, I do use it for blush. You just gotta be a little careful with the type of brush that you use. Now back to my Tanseido brushes as an example, because this is Gray Squirrel, again the YSS14, and using an eyeshadow that's a little more higher in pearl, I think it perfect to then use this brush because it will just lightly apply the shadow in a way that won't overemphasize the pores that I have here. Is absolutely perfect. And if I wanted to use one of the eyeshadows, the matte ones for blush, AQ20, a soft brush, compared to, let's say, we're going into July quickly, but Sonia's new fundamental face set, this is the soft buffer. Soft buffer is going to be a little too much for these eyeshadows, right? Because since it is eyeshadow, it'll be more pigmented than a blush product would be. So that's why the Red Squirrel is just going to pick up enough if I wanted to carefully have this shade appear on the cheeks. Look at that. So even though it's an eyeshadow, to have a softer brush to deliver that color in a way that won't overwhelm the cheeks. And I already have I got like 4 blush products on because I wanted to demo as much as I could in this video. Not everything will be demo because I would just looking like a clown is fine. I know it's a look, but maybe not today for me. This is just an example of a tool that I would use with the Mitzah palette, right? If I wanted to apply the shadows onto my cheeks instead of just exclusively on the eyes. But what I love about this palette, again, you could do that enveloped look where you apply the blush higher on the cheekbones and wrap it in towards the eye crease and just have it blown out. I love that look, especially if you're just relying on the blush colors for your entire complexion, for the entire look of the day. These shades are fantastic, and I think they're easy to use, easy to apply. You can't go wrong with the number of combinations you decide to use in cocktail with the Mitzah palette. It's fantastic. And again, just the palette itself, the design, I fell for it. I'm a sucker, and I'm a happy sucker, so I'll say. Continuing with blush, we have the Chanel, the eyeshadow and blush palette. So much like what we saw from Mitzah, although Mitzah is marketed to be exclusively an eyeshadow palette, the Chanel palettes, I have another one, again, dedicated video in the playlist, is marketed to be for both eyeshadow and blush. Here's the thing. You see that these are baked. You're gonna need a tougher brush. You're going to need a brush that's going to have a far more robust pickup than the AQ. You'll be upset if you use red squirrel, gray squirrel with this type of a formula. It ain't going to pick it up. You're going to be there all day. And some had said that this formula found in the eye and blush palette, not the same as, I guess, pre-released Chanel blush formulas. I'm not an expert in Chanel blushes. I just know I like the palette. So as an example, the new Fundamental Face Fan A I used in the demo here to pick up the more plum shade. And again, you just need the right tool, and I think it picked up the Chanel blush perfectly. Great color on the skin, diffused it well, and I could use the same brush here to apply the highlight shade. And the Psycho goat hair and the way they're bundled is perfect for those harder to pick up blushes that just need a little more coloring on the cheeks. But I love these palettes. It's Chanel, you know what I'm saying? Again, I know I'm paying for the name. I know. But there is just an elegance and sophistication, I think, when it comes to, yes, the formula, but also the shades. I think luxury makeup just has a one-up on the shades and just how nuanced they are, how easy they are to use. They don't look muddy on the skin no matter how you apply them or cocktail them. Is definitely a different experience. Maybe it's all in my head, right? I stopped buying drugstore a long time ago, and many of you have asked about drugstore reviews. I rather not spend the money. I rather just save my money and spend it on something that I know I'm going to love and treasure. And it's just, what I rather have, I don't have a vanity, I do have a desk. I rather have a Chanel compact than a Physicians Formula one. You could call that elitist, you could call that what you want. I really don't care. I rather have, again, just a more refined design packaging than just have a bunch of cardboard and plastic packaging, which I know this is plastic still. I just want the prettier plastic, okay? I'm being 100% honest right here. And lastly, from February, I picked up the newer shades from the Lisa Eldridge Gloss Embrace. Did she release these shades in February, or I was just late to the game? One of those. I have Dancing Rose and Sorcery. Sorcery, one of my most favorite lip velvet shades, and Dancing Rose is a newer shade for her Gloss Embrace line. The pearl in here, like the pink, gold, and green pearl in Dancing Rose, I love. I think it looks great on the lips. If I were to compare Gloss Embrace to the Suqqu lip wrapping treatment, they are similar. I prefer the lip wrapping treatment because I think it doesn't break down as quickly without it feeling sticky, right? Because although it doesn't break down as quickly, it still feels soft on the lip, and again, not sticky, where the Gloss Embrace, I feel, does wear faster. However, when I do apply it, it feels fantastic on the lips. It's like a conditioning treatment that Lisa wanted to develop, but still deliver that color at the same time. Sorcery is like my lip, but better. creamy, shiny. Dancing Rose just has that beautiful color and reflectivity on the lip. So I had to have these both on my list because I do use these quite a lot. They are a go-to everyday type of a gloss moment where I just need a little something, not too much, but just the right dose. We are now in March and opening the month with Haus Labs Hibiscus Haze. Hibiscus Haze is a lovely color, and it's an interesting formula because you see here the swatch is pretty light, but I think the formula allows for nice buildup on the skin, right? You can build the color to where you need it. Hibiscus Haze, I think, is a beautiful mid-tone pink. You could be liberal with it, not only wear it higher on the cheeks, but maybe in closer to the nose to just have like that flushed out spring effect. And down the road, when did I buy this? I forgot when it released, but I also bought Lavender Haze I keep mixing up the two mains. Lavender Blonde. When I saw Lavender Blonde, I was like, please, yes, please. I held off for a little bit. I did. I didn't buy it right away, but I'm happy that I have these two. At the time I bought Hibiscus Haze, I was thinking about getting Pomelo Peach, but I stopped in my tracks because I did get Danessa Myricks, the Blurring Balm Flushed in Bellini. That's a pretty shade. Bellini was giving me a little more color where Pomelo Peach looked a little too light in the pan, but some of you have said that it applies beautifully, much like what I said about Hibiscus Haze. It builds quite nicely on the skin. But because the blushes are so big, these are huge. I couldn't buy Pomelo Peach at the time, but I had to give in to Lavender Blonde because combining this with, when we get to June, Pat McGrath's blush sticks, combining Lavender Blonde with Forbidden Fleur, that's a combination. But with the Haus Labs blushes, I just appreciate the silky blend, easy build up. And some people thought it was too drying, maybe because if you had to build up the color, you had to apply a little more or too much product. There are other colors in the lineup that I feel are more vibrant than Hibiscus Haze, but I wanted to keep it here because I just wanted a softer pink shade on my complexion and not necessarily like the hot red or even the acai berry, which those look lovely as well. Happy with Hibiscus Haze. And also Lavender Blonde. And as I mentioned, I do have Danessa's Bellini, but I also have Jubilee. This is her Blurring Balm Flushed product, mimicking her Blurring Balm, but now in the blush formula. It feels like a cream in pan, but it applies like a powder, and it has the Upslite technology where it combats excess oil and sweat, so the color stays true to itself for throughout the day, and the texture on the skin just looks fresh and like you just applied it. This is a fantastic product. It packs a lot of punch. I especially love to apply the Blurring Balm Flush with the Sheer Fusion Buffer. I just think these are a great combination. It just moves the product evenly across the skin, and the stippled design, I should say, picks up just enough product and not too much where you have that control. It could be trickier with a more dense brush when dealing with this type of formula because it's very soft in the pan, as you see. So a too dense of a brush, I think, will pick up way too much, and you will have to blend on the skin in order for it to diffuse in the way you want it to appear. But if you use a lighter brush off the gate, then it already applies diffused, right? And for reinforcement, you could go in with the Blurring Balm Flush and then go in with the powder on top, or vice versa, you know, so many things. This half year, I'm looking at everything very blush heavy. Very blush heavy. But that makes sense for me because if there's one product I would recommend, if it was a do or die situation and I could only pick one makeup product, it would be blush. That is going to be the product that gives life to the face. I don't care if I don't have brows on. I don't care if the mascara's not on. I don't care if I have bronzer. Because at least, even if I'm not tan, if I pick the right blush shade, it could kind of make it look like I got the tan on. Like Paradise Venus. It's not just the neutral brown or the toasty brown, whatever brown. but the warmth from the blush shade is going to give me that sun-kissed effect still because of the shade itself. Even if it's just a pink blush, it gives the complexion life. So, you know, that's why I just love blush so much. It's highly versatile. You don't have to stop at the cheeks. You bring it up to the eyes, put some blush to the eyes, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of bronzer, we are now in April and opening the month. Again, Pat McGrath Labs Divine Bronzer. I do have 3 shades. Initially, I purchased 2. Those are Bronze Nirvana and Desert Glow. Bronze Nirvana is going to be your more yellow leaning brown. Desert Glow is going to be more of that neutral brown hue. I love both. And during the Sephora Spring Savings event, I bought Bronze Divinity, which is the terracotta shade. So let me get to the formula, right? I knew these would be a hit because it is based off the Divine Blush formula, which is exceptional to have a bronzer from Mother in the Divine Blush formula. My goodness. And the shades I think are great. I understand there was some frustration because it's hard to detect online how these shades would appear on you in real life when you receive the product. Some were like the so-called neutral shade was a little too warm and vice versa. So I get that. For sure, that is frustrating. For the most part, the shades that I have work beautifully on me. I adore how the product applies on the skin. It is like powdered silk. It doesn't look like powder on the skin at all. It just looks like the skin itself is delivering this color, the texture. How the powder is milled is just so soft and airlight on the skin. These bronzers are fantastic. And from the blush products that I purchased earlier in the year, I was combining everything like crazy. Desert Glow with Jubilee, Bronze Nirvana with the Chanel palettes, or even the Bronze Divinity with the Dior Mitzah palette. I was going nuts mixing everything because, again, the formula makes it possible to do that. Everything just doesn't muddy up. It doesn't muddy up. The way it's formulated, these products are formulated, allow the user freedom in that respect. Because let me tell you, when I started my YouTube channel and I was buying the cheaper makeup that, you know, everyone wants the pigment, like the pigmentation. When it comes to cheek products, like, I don't want that crazy pigmentation off the bat. I don't care how great the swatch looks. You are eventually wearing this on your face, and I don't want mud on my face. I want colors that appear soft and nuanced, that don't look heavy and dull on the skin. And you got to get the color science right. But you also can't have a product that's just so crazy pigmented right off the bat for swatching purposes. Again, it's serving a completely different purpose since it's going to be applied on your face. And the lightweight nature, just the silkiness and the texture of the Divine bronzers allow for that to happen. So these are definitely on the mid-year faves list, and I'm thinking about depanning these and just having them like in a triple. I might reach out to my friend who has a company. I'll make sure to link his company down below that depans things. I could probably do this myself and probably just get his palette that houses the three singles, because to have these just all in one place and to use them at the same time, that will be ideal. And I wanted to mention Venusian Sunrise. Now, I received Venusian Sunrise as PR upon my request when I attended the legendary Color Balm Blush Stick event from Pat McGrath Labs, because at the time when I purchased the bronzers, I was holding back. I didn't want to get Venusian Sunrise, but man, was I grateful to have received it in PR. This is one of Pat's, I think, greatest quads, for sure. Her Luxe quads with the two mattes, the metallic shimmer, and then your party shade, right? Fantastic. Absolutely beautiful. You can't go wrong. So technically, again, I did receive this in June, but Venusian Sunrise did release in April with the bronzers. Formula consistent through all 4 shades, and the looks, they're just so easy to achieve, and you just get this like beautiful hazy. And I like that the mattes are not super red toned, right? This is more of like a neutral type of bronze take of things, which I appreciate. I could dig it. And now we're still in April. Perhaps my most favorite eyeshadow palette that released this year thus far. You know what it is, friends. It is no other than Byredo's Remembrance palette. When I saw Remembrance for the first time, my heart stopped. And it stopped for two reasons. Because I knew people were like, it's so basic. And the other part of that was just the fact how beautiful it is. And it is so much more beautiful in person. When it comes to these more subdued shades, it's hard to translate that online. Definitely online kind of like dials down the beauty a little bit because there's only so much that could be done. When you see this sucker in person, and many of you had said this on my Byredo video, when you receive this in person, you gasp. It's just magnificent. These are my shades. The rosy brown terracotta corals. I just think this palette is exceptionally curated. The colors included, the textures are like so soft. They're almost like fabric, where you have beautiful shine, but there's a lightweight nature about the application and how it applies on your skin, where it doesn't look tight and heavy on the lids. It just floats on the skin, but it's not lightweight or patchy or too dry. It has the right amount of adherence and beautiful shine delivery. The mattes are soft, the way they just blend and have a soft focus finish without you over manipulating the blend. You don't have to swirl and twirl. You could just pull softly like you're sketching. This palette is out of this world beautiful, not only with the colors, but just everything about it. If I was just left with one palette, I know this is crazy. If I was left with one palette, it will be okay if it was Remembrance. Out of all the palettes that I have, even Midnight Sun. Midnight Sun is my ultimate Pat McGrath palette. But I understand there are only 10 shades and I got 18 in here. I got 18 shades that, yes, look mostly the same. I love Flora Kalahari as well. That, you could argue, has more versatility. So maybe a better palette to be left on an island with. But I can't help it. With Remembrance, look at her. Look how perfect she is. She's absolutely perfect. So you see I have Remembrance on this eye. I used it with Smoldering Seduction, one of Pat's liquid eyeshadows, because Smoldering Seduction with... Okay, talk about harmonious. And I had to give it up to the Merit Signature Lip Color Lipstick and Slip. Compared to Larch. Larch is what I have on my lips now. Again, no room. Larch is giving you the rosy brown. Slip is giving you more of a beige brown. And I could dig the beige brown. Okay, again, this is the Merit lipstick. Just enough color. Great for like a nude lip for myself. I often pair it with the Esam Dual Lip Liner in nude. Is this the, yes. The nude side with the slip shade. I also have Baby. Baby is okay. It's a little pink, and I took a chance because I'm like, maybe I can make it work. I could make it work, but Slip is far more effortless in terms of me just applying it and not having to pair it with anything, right? Much like Larch. So I enjoy the Slip color a lot. I wear it often, especially if I don't want to think about what lipstick to apply. I just need something neutral for the eye looks I have at the moment, and the Merit lipstick does just that. It's lightweight. It's not as pigmented as the Hourglass lipsticks. Is more than a tint, is giving you like tint balm vibes with a little more color, and it feels nice on the application. Silky on the application, not as emollient as the Hourglass. You definitely have more slip from the Hourglass. There's a nice like, there's good adherence, not dry either. So, you know, it's a hybrid type of formula. The Merit, I think, is quite unique as a product. But again, I've been wearing this often. In addition to their lip oil, I think that's also a great product. I have that in the bag. All right. I should also mention the Monster Crayon from Haus Labs. I have that in Maple Matte. That's also a good lipstick. So those shades, you can see there's a through line here. Rosy brown, brownie mattes, peachy browns. All the browns. During the Sephora sale savings event, we're still in April, I bought Gucci's Soft Red. This blush, my goodness, if I want just like that quick flushed effect. You know what I was talking about on and on and on, how blush is my favorite product because it gives you life on the face. This is what Soft Red does. Soft Red 100% gives you that life. It is an effortless color that you can rely on for like that sunburnt look. It's the perfect sunburnt coral red that is just like, come on. I have so much blush on right now, but because of how the products are formulated, and I'm using my AQ20, okay, everything still looks lightweight. And again, Soft Red is probably one of the most effortless colors I have in my collection. It's just perfect in how it delivers that classic, again, flushed look that I was wanting to achieve with a lot of my blush shades. The one where you carry the color over your nose, but for some reason, like with Jubilee, I had a little hard time doing that with Jubilee because Jubilee is intense and we love it. We love the color moment. But because Soft Red from Gucci is a lot lighter, it just delivered that, I think, easier on my face. And my goodness, I could just put that on and be done. I don't need anything else. It just look how sunburnt I look without the sun damage. All because of Soft Red. Now I have three. I have Bright Coral and Warm Berry. Warm Berry was my first Gucci blush, and that color is by far one of my most favorite blushes in my entire collection. Without a doubt, if I will, before the end of the year, top 5 blushes, Warm Berry's on there. Warm Berry and Soft Red, maybe that's cheating because I'm trying to just stick with one product per brand. I have to give it to Warm Berry just because it was my first Gucci blush product and blew me away when I first wore it. In terms of the color too, because a Warm Berry shade, you could use it to sculpt. All right, instead of wearing on the center of your face, you could place it higher into the hollows and it just gives you like that lift, but with color at the same time. So again, with the contour product, it's only providing that shadow for the sculpt. But when you have a color like Warm Berry, you can rely on it for the same sculpting purposes, but it's gonna give you color. Okay? Perfect. All right. We are in June and we have to open the month, of course, with Mother's legendary glow color balm sticks and of course her new duo highlighter in Cyber Lotus. Balm sticks were interesting because it is just that, a balm. This is Forbidden Fleur, so it's going to have a much different quality than Jubilee from Danessa. Jubilee from Danessa, or the Blurring Balm Flush product, more color, right, more pigmented. The blush stick is going to give you more tint. It's more of a glass skin finish effect, more of like that translucent look on the face where you don't want an intense blush shade. You just want that barely there wash of color. And this is what the blush balm sticks deliver. I have it in 4 shades: Forbidden Fleur, Sun-Kissed Seduction, Fluotique, which is more of like a medium pink, right? This I could definitely wear with Hibiscus Haze. I could apply Fluotique first and Hibiscus Haze on top. And of course, Peach Lotus. Peach Lotus is like, my goodness, just summertime vibes all the way. But you see, like, they have this watercolor quality about them. What I like to do is apply Forbidden Fleur first, and I apply that with a soft buffer brush from Sonia's Face Fundamental set on top of the Chanel. So this is a technique I borrowed from Patrick Ta's blush duos, right? The product itself informed the user to apply the cream first, No, the powder first and the cream on top. So I took that same technique, did the Chanel blush first, and then Forbidden Floor on top. What that does is give the balm a little more reinforcement, right? So that if you want it to last longer on the skin, because again, this is a balm, it's not going to last on the skin as long as a powder would. So that is a step you can take for, again, the longevity aspect of things. But what I love is just the versatility of the product, where you could tap on the center of your face. Sun-kissed seduction on the center of my face is just perfect, especially if I apply it either with Gucci's Soft Red or even Pat McGrath's Paradise Venus. Oh my gosh. Because I've been wearing less makeup, I am on a skin sobering journey, not using skincare for 30 days. So I haven't been using a lot of creamy types of products, because I would then have to use soap to remove and not just water, as opposed if I just use mineral makeup, it's a lot easier to remove with just water. So I have been limiting my makeup wear significantly. But when I use the blush sticks a lot in June, again, I just love the cocktailing possibilities, where I could wear under over powder, I could just tap on the product or whip it on and then tap with my fingers. So I like that balm concept when it comes to a cream blush product. I like the fact that there is room to build the color, to build the intensity, but it still looked glassy and dewy in finish. And I know that texture is not for everyone, right? Because dewy can look greasy on some skins, and I totally understand that. I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't mad at the fact that I looked a little greasy with color on my cheeks, because at least it still looked like a balm and not like oil on my skin. It didn't look like you could slap on a slab of bacon on my cheeks and it starts cooking. Like it looked like a skincare product that was still on my face. So those are the blush sticks, and of course with that released the palette. This is a nice little palette. I like this one a lot. It's kind of like, it's giving you Divine Rose moments, of course, but this plum shade, the matte, I think is beautiful. And the metallics here, especially this bronze shade is pretty. It's almost like a lavender type of a bronze. And when you pair it with the matte shade, look at that matte. Is absolutely gorgeous. And speaking of eyeshadow, you know what I got on this eye? Natasha Denona's Yucca palette. This is perhaps one of Natasha's best midi palettes ever released. This color story right here is just, besides Metropolis, I adore the shades included in Yucca. I mean, in terms of like the khaki, olive, mustard, citrus, you got these metallic shades. This is like a newer formula. The ultra reflective high shine formula found in Yucca is insane. Gomorebi, I think, I applied Macchia on the Cosmic Chartreuse side. Macchia is rude, straight up rude. Look at that. Don't you just adore the fact that you see that olive, but it's like an olive gold pewter? It is beautiful. And every time I use this palette, I get excited, because no matter how I combine these shades, there's like an earthy, vibrant quality from the looks achieved using Yucca. And the formula is just exceptional across the board. Everything from the cream to powder, to the powder mattes, to the duochromes, you cannot go wrong with Yucca. Yucca is one of Natasha's best, and I know I have to refilm a top 5. One of you had argued, and you're right, that Metropolis is still considered midi, even though there are 18 shades in there. 18? 20. More than 15. So I might have to do some rethinking, right? Because I feel like Metropolis was in its own category because it's a different eyeshadow palette altogether. But man, I gotta redo the top 5 because Yucca is now on it. 100%. So if you want to see more looks, I have my Yucca video out. I did this look on the demo for this video. You know, have fun. And if you have Yucca, you know. Now, I know I mentioned the Fundamental Face series as a fave. Technically, that released in July, so it's not, because of the timeline, not mid-year technically, and Izumiya's Industrial 2 I ordered in July. Of course, those are going to be in the end of the year, okay? But let me just finish this list with Sonia G's Sheer Fusion Buffer Brush. One of Sonia's best designed tools, period. The versatility of this brush is unmatched in terms of how many different products you could use this with, from cream to powder. The fact that we have a stippling brushes often are either too stiff or too soft. You got the right amount of stiffness, pickup, and blend with the Sheer Fusion Buffer. The fact that it could just move product quickly across the skin and leave behind the right amount of coverage that doesn't look heavy. True medium coverage that blurs out your imperfections without you having to worry about covering them completely because of how the product is whipped with the Sheer Fusion Buffer. You just have, again, that perfect amount, that perfect dose of makeup. Again, great with, as I mentioned before, with Danessa's Blurring Balm Flush. You can use this with powders. You could use it with a powder foundation if you wanted. Fantastic with the Balm Color 6 from Pat McGrath. Any of the products that I showed in this favorites list. Okay? And wonderful if we had a smaller version, even if it was just for the Keyaki set. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. Sheer Fusion, but I go over on and on and on about it in the Sheer Fusion Buffer video. So if you want to see more demos using this brush, you most certainly can. Click over, give me a visit over there. But this is a great way to end the mid-year favorites list. And when I gathered all the products to film with this video, what stood out was how much I enjoyed each and every one. There's something about being more discerning with my shopping this year where I hone in to, again, the wish list. I edit it, I think about it. Is this product going to cause waves in my collection? Am I going to use it often? Am I just buying it now because there is that like initial excitement for a new product? And I'm happy I held back this year and had those moments where I sat with products that I was thinking about buying for a little while before buying them right away. There were palettes like the Byredo The Remembrance palette. It was a quick yes. Like Natasha Denona's Yucca, a quick yes. But for the most part, I think what I did this year differently from previous ones is just be honest with my shopping addiction and know that it's still okay to buy new things, but you can also say no. You're going to survive without certain products. Even though I have a YouTube channel, I don't have to buy everything. And I am truly happy with the products that I accumulated over the 6 months, and very grateful, beyond grateful for the PR items included on this list. That does help the budget immensely, and I understand that some of these products are expensive. Hey, listen, I bought the Chanel palettes and I bought that Dior palette, okay? Those palettes I did not need for sure, but I decided to splurge on the luxury palettes because I don't buy luxury often. And every so often, I do run into a release like the Dior palette and the Chanel palettes that really just, they're so beautiful. They're beautiful. I will continue to use them, and they weave themselves well into my collection. I use them with my Phyto Surgeons Skin Spark Blush Bombs. I use them now with the Color Bombs from Pat. I have all these beautifully made Japanese brushes that have different bristle types for several products, where again, like the Mitzah palette, I could use with the softer brush to create that more of a soft blur application. If I wanted to apply eyeshadow on my cheeks, I can do that. And now that I've reorganized my collection and I could find everything easier, I remember the items that I have and I could return to them. I could, use them in different ways and whatnot. So thrilled thus far with the last 6 months. Who knows what the end of year will bring? I know we have the Black Friday season coming up. I'm not going to say soon, but I'm just saying, the emails start coming in October, okay? And I know for myself, if I have items on my radar, if I'm waiting for a sale from a certain brand, Again, I will use discernment and not buy everything just because it's on sale. It will be more so for replenishing purposes, or if I had my eye on a product for quite some time and it's finally on sale, I'll go get it. But yes, we will get to that when the time arrives. Let me know, fam, what your favorites have been from January through June, July-ish. I will see you down in those comments, and until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, top 5 blush video, or my most unique Fude brushes. We'll work on that video as well. Take care, and I will see you again soon.